doing it a major way. Nice clothes, nice cars, nice clothes, nice cars.
Okay, I probably shouldn't start like that, but hello, this is 100% trustworthy financial advice. And just to be clear, this is not financial advice, but this podcast is 100% trustworthy financial advice, just so we're on the same page. Hope nothing's confusing. And what this podcast is it's an attempt to give some unorthodox financial advice, to young people who really don't have a clue of what they're about to do, whether it's after college or whether they just started their first job. And when I say unorthodox, we're not going to be talking about the run-of-the-mill stuff because I don't know any of that at all. But, we're not going to be talking about IRAs. Like in my household, IRA stands for Irish Republican Army. The only, checks I cash are to them. Yeah, I probably shouldn't say that. It's probably not a good idea. I'm not affiliated with terrorists in any way. So yeah, that's the podcast is not for terrorists. It's for college students and people exiting college, and for the smart people who didn't go to college. Which, good Christ, I wish I was one of them. And I know what people are thinking. Like, who am I? Who is this? By all means, stuttering jackass. Who is he? Well, I'm a 21-year-old college student. My name's John Copa. I go to St. Joseph's University. It's probably enough information to steal my identity, which is probably too much to give away. But hey, I'm a gambling man. But we'll talk about that in another episode. And you might be thinking, why am I fit to give advice? And the answer is that I have never accomplished anything. And I have no achievements. And that's sort of, that's exactly what you want from your financial advisor. You don't want a guy driving a Jaguar. He's going to spend all of your money. You want the guy who thinks that Wawa hoagies are a treat, that they're good cuisine. That's good bread they have. You want a guy who's hungry, who's dirty. That's what you want in a financial advisor. You don't want a guy who has a degree or any qualification. A certified public accountant, get him out of here. Don't waste your time with that. You want me. But this is not financial advice. And I know what some of you might be thinking. When I say financial advice, you're probably thinking I'm going to start talking about cryptocurrency. But no, I hate cryptocurrency. I've lost thousands of dollars, and I don't ever want to talk about it again or think about it. But I have to think about it because I keep getting credit card bills in the mail. You should not be able to use credit cards on Coinbase. I think that's a bad policy, and I'm going to be the first to say that that's their fault, and it's not mine. I've never done anything good in my life. But, I've done a lot of, stupid things. I've worked in, an auto body shop. I love working on cars. I've always worked on cars with my dad when I was young. I'd be holding the light. He'd be screaming and yelling, which is always funny. By the way, people want to say that sounds like a bad thing. It was an incredible experience to learn how to work on a car and to work on how to save your tears for later. It was just like two lessons at once. But yeah, and I'm also trained to be a real estate agent right now, which you can probably tell because I sound like a shiesty individual. I sound like I'm rubbing my hands together and I'm clammy and I keep wiping my brow with sweat. But for this episode, we're going to be talking about cars and what cars you should buy, whether it be right after college or, whether or not your old car is just beat to hell and you need something new. Cars are such an important part of the American life. I mean, you have to have one to get anywhere. And that sounds like bad, but it's kind of true. Unless you're living in a major city like New York. You can't even live in Philadelphia without a car. It's a nightmare. But unless you're living in New York, you need a car to live. 3/4 of Americans drive to work. It's just a fact that our entire country is built around the car. And I don't really have a problem with that, actually. I love cars. I think cars are one of the most, or one of the ultimate expressions of, individualism. It's, such a basic utility. It takes you from point A to point B. It's something we've had for thousands of years. We've had, horse-drawn carts and donkeys and stuff like that. But because we're people and we're egomaniacs, we have to take this utility and turn it into, something insane. Like you have to say like, no, mine has to be red. Yeah, that's nice, but mine has to be fast, and I have to be able to throw it around a corner and scare all my passengers. They don't ride with me anymore. They say I'm crazy. My insurance rates are through the roof. But on to what car you should be buying. There are plenty of schools of thought. A lot of people might go with a new car straight away. And that's fine. There's a lot of benefits to that. You can take advantage of dealer financing. Dealerships are good customers to banks. They get loans that you wouldn't be able to. If you walked into a loan and you're like, hey, I want $27,000 over 6 years for a depreciating asset, even better. The bank would say, hey, can I spit in your face? Can you lean across the counter so I can spit in your face? But a dealership who sells the bank 30 of these loans a week has a much better reputation. So you can take advantage of like dealer financing. So yeah, if you're buying new and you're thinking about buying something luxurious, I'm going to stop you right away because you haven't accomplished anything and you need to chill out. All right? Buying a luxury car right away is insane behavior. No one buys luxury cars new. And you might say, like, well, what about rich people? Rich people lease luxury cars because luxury cars lose so much of their value immediately. The average car loses 20% of its value within the first year, but luxury cars, it's even worse. It can get up into the 30s, mid-30s. If you're buying a luxury electric car, like a Mercedes EQS, 40% in the first year, gone in the wind. Rich people don't buy luxury cars. No one buys luxury cars when they're new. When you buy luxury, you also get like in trouble with like maintenance nonsense. Like the average household spends $123 a month on maintenance. If you have a luxury car, it's gonna be like double that because the tailgate will break. And of all your tailgate doesn't close all the way, and now you're stranded at your son's soccer game. And you don't want to be there. No one wants to go to their son's soccer. He sucks. He sits on the bench. He's the kid that is the reason why the coach has to have that rule. Well, everyone has to get playtime. He's that kid. You don't want to be there. You bring orange slices just to ease the tension of your presence. Stay away from luxury cars. Don't get abandoned at your son's soccer game because the hatch decides not to close all the way. So, yes, you should be staying away from luxury cars. And what you should be doing is you should be buying something simple. For the love of God, just buy a Honda. Honda knows how to make engines. They make like 15 million engines a year. They are the number one producer of engines. They know what they're doing. All right, so the car's going to be reliable. There's going to be millions of parts. Every single mechanic knows how to work on a Honda. And they're little frills, less to go wrong. The only thing with Honda is they can get a little cramped sometimes. So if you got like a dog, you might want to look into a CR-V. But if you don't have a dog, just buy a Civic. But whatever you do, make sure whatever car you buy has Apple CarPlay. Because ever since 2018, cars have to have that stupid screen in them, and every single car manufacturer tried to make their own software, and they're all terrible. They're all just junk. If you have Apple CarPlay, it just works like a phone, and that's exactly what you need to do. It's sometimes like $300. I think Toyotas come standard with Apple CarPlay. You might want to look into a Toyota. But Honda, $300 extra maybe. And then there's also a reliability thing. That's the main thing you want to look for in your first car is reliability. And if you can handle some of the questioning design elements of the Korean car makers like Kia and Hyundai, they offer a 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty, which they are begging for your business with a number like that. They are begging for your business. All right, service at car dealerships makes more money than sales a lot of the times. And so when you think about that, you see a company that is effectively saying, hey, we don't want to make more money because we need more customers. They're begging for customers right now. And if you want to indulge them, you can do that. A lot of people I've seen driving those like base model Kia Fortes around 10 years, 100,000 miles, basically don't have to worry about a thing for 10 years. So if you were looking for comfort, maybe that's the way to go. But when it comes to buying your first car, what I would really recommend is not actually buying a new car right off the rip. You're just taking a huge hit with depreciation, and it's something that when you're first starting out and you have no money, you really don't want to just be burning money. So you want to buy a car that's already lost the majority of its value. Not the majority per se, but just the majority of what it's actually ever going to lose. So you want to buy maybe something like certified pre-owned, which is kind of nice because you can still take advantage of like dealer financing. You don't have to come up with the full cash to buy a car like you would going to a private seller. And going to a private seller is an option. A lot of people don't like to do it. It can be sketchy. People will lie to your face. But this is the fun part about going to a private seller. You can just look at all the things that are wrong with the car and tell the guy to his face, it has scratches. Are you blind when you drive? You bumping? The wheels are scratched. There's scratches all. Have you ever not hit a curb before in your life? Your tires are halfway bald. All right, you can insult the man to his face and tell him that his car is worth half of what he says it is. And that's what negotiation is. It's being rude. It's making fun of a person's way of life, and it's giving lowball offers. It's called the art of the deal, okay? And it's what we should all be doing when it comes to buying a car. There's money on the table, and you need to take it. But in all seriousness, I do think going private is an option. And when you go private, you kind of have to look for certain attributes. And when you're buying an old car, this is what I'll say. Buying old Japanese cars sounds like the ideal dream. But the thing is that other people also have brains in their heads. They've also figured out that Japanese cars run forever. So because of that, older Japanese cars cost more than older luxury cars in some circumstances, where they have competing pricing. Because everyone knows they'll actually run. But there's also another crowd with Japanese cars that drives up the price. And these people are a little bizarre. They're usually teenagers, people in their young, low 20s. And then there's also the occasional sad, 45-year-old guy. But they like to buy Japanese cars and do, insane modifications to them. And by insane modifications, I mean, cut the exhaust off and put stupid rims on it and big stereo system. But it makes it go faster. I promise to God, all that stuff makes your car go faster. So when you're buying Japanese, you're going to be competing with smart people who know how to negotiate on a price, who know how to get what they want, and morons who will overpay. So when you buy old Japanese cars, Honda, Toyota, Mazda, Subaru, it's a pretty competitive market. So something I would recommend that you do is you look at the luxury variants. For Toyota, there's Lexus, and for Honda, there's Acura. These cars are, some people like the old Lexuses, and some of the older Lexuses are very desirable. But a lot of the, mid to late 2000s, early 2010s, they look like oatmeal. They're ugly. They all came in ugly colors, which is a good thing for you because people don't like driving around in ugly cars. But you are smart, and you know that you saved thousands of dollars, and you could care less that you're driving around in a mulberry Acura. And that's another thing you should be looking for. Look for the weird colored Japanese luxury cars. The golds, the off blues, those weird reds. If there's a purple one, pounce on it immediately. Because that is an old person's car. Old people buy weirdly colored cars. And old people usually have a lot of money if they're buying a luxury car, first off. And they love to take care of their cars. Old people cars are perfectly maintained. And they drive them 80 miles a year. They drive to the grocery store. If you buy a Honda that's 12 years old, there's a chance it was owned by some dumbass kid and he was wrapping around corners every chance he could. You got to look out for that. But Acura, Lexus, not so much. And now, while we're on the subject of old people cars, Buick. They're hideous. They're awful looking cars. But old people love them. They're like an American icon. And they're perfectly maintained. And they run forever. The motor you want to look for is called the 3800. It's one of the greatest engines of the 20th century. And it's so good that I'm pretty sure they're still using it in like China. And they made it throughout the early 2000s. There's like bulbous, ugly Buick LeSabre, Buick LaCrosse, the Park Avenue. They're all dumpy front-wheel drive cars, but they're super comfortable because, like I said, old people. They're super, super comfortable. They're incredibly reliable. They're weirdly powerful. You can tow with them because they're like a stocky frame car. So if you ever have like stolen goods, if you're a scrapper, you like to steal copper from people's houses, and you have a little trailer, you can hook that bitch up to your Buick 3800, wrap it around, going neighborhood to neighborhood, stealing copper. Listen, that's not financial advice. What I just said, don't steal copper, but there's a lot of abandoned homes out there. I'm not encouraging illegal behavior. So yeah. But one thing that you should absolutely stay away from when it comes to old cars is the Germans. The Germans are, I was going to say an evil. No, the Germans are evil when it comes to cars and a lot of things. Their cars don't age well. Like German wine. I don't know if you've ever had German wine. It's disgusting. Most wine is disgusting, but German wine in particular is scum of the earth. And German cars are quite similar. They are the best cars for the first 2 years that they exist. And then after that, they are the worst cars for the rest of their history. And you might think I'm hating, but I genuinely love German cars. I owned a 1999 740i, and I loved that car. It's a great-looking car. It was in a James Bond movie, not the one that I owned, of course, but the car type was in a James Bond movie, the Action Bronson, the Pierce Brosnan, not the Action Bronson, the Pierce Brosnan James Bond movies, had that BMW. It's such a good-looking car. It was fast. I remember one time I was just laying down in bed, and this is a hypothetical situation, by the way. But one time, hypothetically, I was laying down in bed at like 2 a.m., and I was thinking about how fast can I make that car go. And I got out of bed at 2 a.m., and I got in my car, and I went on the highway, and I hit 132 miles an hour. And that's hypothetical, by the way. That was a hypothetical situation. But I hit 132 miles an hour, and then Spotify Shuffle put on some nonsense, and I reached over to switch the song. I guess I let off the gas pedal a little bit, and then the car wouldn't accelerate anymore after that. It would just shiver and shake. But anyway, that was the fastest I've ever been in a car, which was great. I loved that car to death, but it was a horrific nightmare. It loved to fuck my day up for no reason at all. And I did so much. I put new suspension on the car. I spent so much money, more money than I should have ever spent on this suspension system. And 2 days after I had it all set up and installed, the drivetrain blows up on me. My point is that you can't satisfy a German car. It's a sadist. It loves to inflict pain on you. And if you're into that sort of thing, I would prefer that you don't listen to my podcast. But maybe you should buy a German car. You'll lose thousands of dollars. But the final thing that I really want to say in this episode is that if you're driving a car right now, just drive that car. Keep it. Is it costing you money month to month? If it is, punt it. You might have to do that. But if it is getting you from point A to point B, just clean it. Just give it a little detail. It will feel new. Buy one of those, if it's old as shit and it doesn't have Bluetooth, buy one of those cigarette lighters things, that connect to the Bluetooth. I put that in my 2007 I had to destroy the BMW. It had to go. It was putting oil all over the place. I drive a 2007 Volvo XC90 now. Doesn't have Bluetooth. I put one of those cigarette lighter things in. Changed my life. It's like a toothpick for a man. A Bluetooth adapter changes an old car. Just clean your car. Take care of it. Give it oil when it needs to. Save your money. Spend it on something else. Do you know how much it sucks to have a $315 payment on a car that you think is kind of lame? Just keep your car. It's better for the environment, too. Anyway, that's all the time I'm going to be taking for you tonight. I hope you came away with something here. I know I was talking a lot of nonsense, yapping, one might say, but well, that's what I like to do. It's a podcast. What the hell else am I supposed to do?